Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Ezel here. Today I am back to cover Ezel from DBT 11, but technically I'm also playing this in DBT 12, so okay, call it what you want. Today I'm here to talk about Ezel because surprisingly there has been zero Blond Ezel deck profiles in standard online that were good, like zero at all, and that surprised me because we've already finished set 11. It's been a month plus and nobody has come out to cover it. So I decided today I'm gonna put my head in the ring and I'm gonna do it. This video is being recorded around the first week of DBT 12. So if this video does come out late, do know that it's because of my release schedule. Maybe by then someone else has outdone me completely. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. But I really wanted to share about Ezel because he's a really fun deck. He's the other encounter deck in DBT 11, Clash of the Heroes, which if you probably don't know what that set has, it obviously has my favorite Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion. So yeah, I have both limit breakers from Break of Limits here. I'm really excited for DBT 14 when they give us Platinum Ezel, as well as the Blood when Vermilion will die again. But okay, let's just cover this. Overall, this is our right deck. It's very standard. Kriff is our typical D series starter. It's still Crimson Lion card Kriff. Seriously, nothing has changed. He's still a good boy. He's nice to have. I feel like I prefer his older arts, but again, it's a different story. Then we have Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth. Gareth, when rolled upon by specifically Bowman, you can search your deck for a Reign Supreme King of Beasts and add it to your hand. Okay, that's not bad, but let's talk about it. After that, on the rear guard, if you have a Gold Paladin Vanguard, if you have Vanguard of Ezel, this unit gains 2000. So I mean, it's fine, nothing too amazing. It's not even generic in terms of helping you for future Gold Paladin stuff like maybe Liberators or Gurgit Strike deck set. So yeah, he's probably most forgettable. I do love his art though. Its encounter art shows him coming back from the Void Invasion. It's that same background from the TD08 printing. So okay, fun facts. Of course, with Bowman's art here is completely killer. I have no idea whatever they were smoking when they drew this card, because wow, this is phenomenal. Can you see that? That's a common, by the way. This is like one of the best arts in this set for a common. Basically, you know, if you have Gareth and Kriff in your soul, you know, it's typical Ezel nonsense. Discard one card from your hand and then you just superior write it from the right deck. But he gets drive -1. Which sucks because, you know, you -1 to superior right. So you literally just go -1 to jump right. And you don't get back much card economy. Which is not very good. It's pretty balanced, I would say, but like when you look at what we have in our format right now, Gandiva, Kashu, Chronojet, Willista, this is like the last thing you want to see on a card, but okay, you gave me great art, it's fine. Bowman actually has a second skill that's very critical to this deck, which is that at the end of the battle, when his unit declares an attack, if your Vanguard is Ezel, you can give him an extra 5, but he must go back to the bottom of the deck. Am I playing Filthy Rosa? No, I assure you this deck is not that bad. Okay, I promise you, this deck is not as bad as Filthy Rosa. But it's good that they actually give you an option to gain 5 in a bot deck. So it's not like all the other Filthy Rosa cards where they straight up just, oh, you have to put a bot on the deck. Bowman, despite being 3001 years old, is somehow better than every ghost girl on the school. So you girls need to learn a lesson. Look at him, he's so strong. Now look at this man. Look at his tits. This is Blond Ezel. First skill is that you can only write grade 3 or greater Ezel units on top of him. So goodbye to Bastion Accord. Goodbye to Bastion Prime. Hello to Platinum Ezel. But his second skill is at the beginning of your right phase, which means it doesn't count for the turn that you jump. It's just the next turn that Ezel's around, which is why you jump, right? That's why you do the superior, right? Basically, if you have 3 or less units, which basically means 2 rear guards in English, you Soul Blast 1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and superior call 1 of them, and then you put the rest to the bottom of your deck. It's a +1, it's a safety net, it's a Soul Blast. It's not bad, but I kind of wish it wasn't at 3 units. I kind of wish it was 3 rear guards, because like, you know, I kind of would have preferred it if it was a bit more lenient, but I appreciate the fact that it's Ezel's iconic top deck skill, but a bit better. So clearly Game Studio is here. Hello Game Studio, I'm still alive. But of course, it's not that good considering the fact that you have to wait a whole ass turn after Bowman. I really would have appreciated it if it was maybe, say, start the battle phase or something else. Like it feels really sad that they picked the weirdest possible timing for Ezel, but I'm fine with it. I'm still okay with it. The second skill is that when he attacks a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard, which is really slow because Ezel is super fast and you have a skill that's locked into Grade 3 or greater. So that means if you are going first, you basically have to wait like 2 ass turns before you can use this skill. And if you're going second, then it's not that bad, but you still have to wait. So yeah, that's a reason why, Ezel's not saying really good, but I still really enjoy it. So when he attacks a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard, you count +1, look at the top 7 cards in your deck, choose up to 2 Grade 3 or lower cards from among them, call them to open rearguard circles, and shuffle the deck. This unit gains 10. The +10 for Ezel was something I seriously didn't expect. Them printing on the card. I really expected more of the whole this unit gains power for each one of the rear guards. I mean, if Majesty Lord Blaster gets a 2k and a crit skill, yeah, but you know what? For what it's worth, this is a really good retrain for Blond Ezel. Because the OG Blond Ezel is absolute ass. Like it's completely one of the worst cards ever. Unless you were back playing in 2012 with me in Break of Limits, then you wouldn't say that. But that card is aged horribly, which is why even until like G, you only played Blond Ezel for the Superior Riot. So maybe this is what they are hinting at in D series, that eventually you will swap the Platina, especially because you Superior Riot, so you won't have to play stuff like All the Hatchet. I don't know, that's pure speculation at that point. Don't take anything I just said as reality. Please do not follow your investment strategy based on the bullshit I'm saying. But all in all, it's a very standard right line. You cannot go wrong with it, and you don't have an option to play anything else. Because if you're playing Ezel, this is the only option. Moving on to our Grade 3s, we obviously play 4 copies of Ezel in the right deck, 1 Regalis piece, and then 2 copies of Reign Supreme, King of Beasts. I think you could probably infer that if you Superior Ride early, you kind of want to Persona Ride as much as possible, because that's the only real advantage you have left from the Superior Ride jump. So you have to play this Regalis piece. I'm sorry, it's a compulsory thing. If you can't afford it, you physically can't play this deck. I know Ezel's not an expensive deck, especially since the DBT 12 price drop on Unite, but this card it is reprinted in both Farvnil and Graham Grace. So you can beat one of those children up, just take their card, and it's fine, really. It's a must play for this deck. I cannot stress that enough. And of course we have 2 copies of Reign Supreme, King of Beasts, which is also in normal order, so you cannot play Reign Supreme on the same turn you use the Regalis piece. So I need everyone to keep that in mind. Please do not ask me in the comments, why can't I? It's a rule, okay? It's a rule. Reign Supreme, King of Beasts is free costed though, and you can play it from your hand as long as you have a Grade 3 with Ezel in its name. Oh, the F one is really hard to read. Yeah, I might as well just read this one. So basically, open the top 7 cards of your deck, Superior card or Grade 3 or lower card from among them, that unit gains 5, and shuffle the deck. Now, Reign Supreme is one of the only 2 cards that can shuffle the deck. The other is Blond Ezel, and you will see really quickly that with the amount of cards that go back to the bottom of the deck, that stack in the bottom, there's not a lot of shuffling effects, which really makes me worried that Bushiroad copied way too much of 2012 Go Paladin, that we have so much cards that do not shuffle the deck. It's kind of scary. So Reign Supreme is actually really important to you because it is one of your only ways left to shuffle the deck, and your deck gets thin fast, which means what happens is that on the top of your deck, when you Superior call with Blond Ezel, you're more rather than not going to be left with trigger units, and you're not going to be having all the spicy Bowmans that you've been throwing back to the bottom. No one has covered this, and that's the scariest part. No one seems to realize that this is the reality of playing Blond Ezel, that your deck becomes so lopsided so fast, it's insane. I can't even imagine people play this at tournaments. Is that why Ezel doesn't have a WGP top yet? But the downside of Reign Supreme is pretty obvious. It is a net 0. You don't get any card advantage from playing Reign Supreme because you lose the card from your hand, you call one to rear guard. So please keep that in mind, that this is not a +1, this is a net 0. Thank you. Moving on to our Grade 2s, we obviously play 4 copies of Bowman and 4 copies of Drilling Angel and 1 copy of Tunar. Yes, that's very interesting. Let's get right to it. Bowman, as I mentioned before, he is our principal attacker. He's our 15k beater. He's our right jumper. He has the coolest art in this set. Okay, I will not back down. This is the best art. Look at how metal he is. He's just walking towards you like Mom said, it's my turn on the Xbox. But I'm not here to crack you 2012 jokes. I'm here to crack some skulls. And here's how we're gonna do it. Drilling Angel. Again, this is not PBD, this is not PBO, but it is good enough because it does the two things that Ezel needs. Card advantage and soul, which they solve it brilliantly with Drilling Angel. So you just slide a card from your drop zone into your soul, like your top 3, and you could potentially superior call. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, the chances of that is really low. With the amount of deck thinning you do, it's not that bad. It's only really bad on the early stages of the game. But guess who goes from the soul and back to the bottom of the deck? Bowman. So what actually happens is that the more thin your deck goes as your game progresses, your Bowmans go back to the bottom of the deck. And because you played Ezel correctly, I hope, you've soul blasted one copy of Bowman from your right deck. So what happens then is that any copy of Bowman in the drop zone, you could fish that with this, recharge your soul, and then after that, just open the top 3 and bam, call a Bowman straight away. So it's a +1 now on the later stages of the game. It builds you an early aggression, so you definitely have at least a 25k beater on your other column. And you get soul, which is insane because Ezel has so much soul usage, it's not even funny. I'm not playing the other variants of Ezel that play much more soul blasters, but if you do, you will realize that wow, Ezel as a deck uses so much soul. So that's why I still do recommend Drilling Angel overall. I get it's not a popular option. I get a lot of people don't play it, especially with the online opinions, especially from early lists that come out for Ezel. They don't believe in this. But I feel that if you're willing to give it a try, it could be quite rewarding for yourself. If not, just play Sages, you know? And lastly is Tunar at 1. Now, before someone says, oh, this is the Vanity Ezel method of choosing your cards in your deck. No, please, I'm sorry, okay? I'm not playing this because she's a double rare. I'm not playing this because I packed it. I'm not playing this because she's cute. Tunar is a very bad card. Very. It goes -1 to counter charge and gives you 1 soul if you have 3 or more face down damage, which is very easy because Ezel does have quite a fair bit of counter blast options here, despite the fact that Reign Supreme is free, thank God. So, why am I playing 1 Tunar? Well, it's really because Tunar, like I said, is a bad card, but having its activation be able to use at least once in a game is really good. But at the same time, Tunar is a -1, which means anytime you call Tunar, you are losing card advantage. It clears its open circle just like Bowman does. So in a sense, it does allow you to superior call with Ezel when you multi-attack. But unlike Bowman, who gave you power and more killing power, Tunar does not. Tunar just gives you resources for another turn that you may not even live to see. So that is why I only play 1 Tunar. In fact, I may just cut Tunar. Tunar is at most a 2 off in Ezel. So really just keep it in mind. And I understand that a lot of people were hyping this up. You know, W Slasher, they were like, oh, you must play Tunar, it will triple in price. Please don't actually buy Tunar for Ezel. If you can hear me, there are better options. You can buy stuff like Sages, you can buy stuff like Catwalla. You can. There's so many other cards out there, like Hammer Breaking Knight Sadi. You don't have to play Tunar. But because I am interested in playing for the late game, 1 activation of Tunar per game does help me here and there. So that's the only reason why she's here. If not, most of the time I just discard her for right or the super right. So let it be known that this is not a good card for Ezel outright. I just add it for the sake of what it does rather than it being a good card. Okay, this is not a vanity Ezel kind of thing. I'm not telling you to play bad cards for the sake of it. It's just because that counter charge can help you in the later stages of the game. And the reason for that is in our grade 1 lineup. We play 4 copies of Silver Fang Witch, 4 copies of Listener of Truth Dindrain, hello, 4 copies of Fiona. We obviously play 4 Perfect Guards, and then we play Gareth in the right deck. So I know what a lot of you are now thinking, what is it with so many grade 1s? Ezel is a solitaire deck in the sense that you're gonna rush, you're gonna slam, you're gonna make him cry, you're gonna bomb his ass to hell. So you gotta start early, you gotta fight early. So Gareth is part of the right deck, and I don't have to explain why you play Perfect Guards. There's no Sanctitude in this deck because you don't actually want to open the top 3 and have no callable targets. So for the sake of this, we are playing 4 copies of Paladin Zeal or Aegis Mare, whatever your pick is. I also want you guys to remember that this is the perfect guard with the skill that if your hand size is 2 or less, the guard is free. Ezel's hand is very small. It is smaller than Shoujo Doji. If you can believe me, if you understand what I'm saying, it is a very small hand. So you will want these perfect guards to make sure that you can at least get one free perfect guard off. So if you are planning to play Ezel, your two main cards you will need to buy is this card and your normal perfect guards. Everything else in this deck is compromisable, okay? So please keep that in mind, please. But you know what's not compromisable? 4 copies of Silver Fang Witch. This is another wonderful art. It's a glow up. I mean, I don't want people to know that, I'm horny. But yes, it is a good card. But why is it a good card? It's not just because of the art. It's the skill. The skill is when it's placed from hand, from field, anywhere, if you have a grade 3 or greater Gold Paladin Vanguard, yeah, it doesn't need to be Ezel, just anything. You counterblast 1, draw a card, and this unit gains 5. The draw is locked to the counterblast, the +5 is free. So if you're being counterblast denied for some reason, it's still a 13k attacker, a 13k booster. It's really good, and it works when your Vanguard is grade 3. Unlike someone here, and it's really helpful because that means that your early aggression can hop over much more magic numbers. And why are people still playing this at 3? This should be a 6 off. This is insane, and it's a counterblast on a draw one, which means you can now cycle through your hand faster than Spiral Cutie because it's on the board, it's a body, it's insane. Silver Fang Witch is a must play for this deck. At 4, there is no compromise here. It's a lot like Bowman, where it is a very critical part. Bowman is very key for the end game of this deck, and Silver Fang, which is very good for everything else in between. The second you hop onto Blond Ezel, you instantly have 4 cards in your deck turn green, as in they just straight up give you a +1. It's insane. You do need to play this. Please do. Now, the strange thing is, I said that Silver Fang, which is a very good card. I cannot say the same about Din Drain, despite Din Drain costing me a lot of money because some people bought it out last week on Big Web. Thank you. But despite that though, I don't actually like Din Drain, but Din Drain is just way too important for the Ezel strategy. Why is that? When this unit is placed, if you have one clan for your Vanguard, so that means Shadow Paladin, Gold Paladin, Royal Paladin, Genesis, or Oracle Think Tank, if they ever do that, you Soul Blast 2, you can't charge 1. This is generic, so if you play Majesty Lord Blaster, if you play Genesis, you need counter charge, you can buy this card, which is, wait, that's probably why it's so expensive, what the hell? I just figured it out. Okay, the second skill. At the end of the battle, this unit boosts, and if your Vanguard's Ezel, you can return 1 unit in the same column as this to the bottom of your deck. Stand this unit. This is not once per turn, so you could use this on 2 attacks to board deck 2 of your recurring boosters, and that means that this unit will be in stand position, which means I just taught you how to counter the Gredora Strike deck set. You're welcome. But beyond that though, that also means that you can actually more easily hit Ezel's safety net skill if you are constantly board decking your own attackers. It's kind of like what Felty Rosa always wanted, but just never got for some reason. And it's just really good that Din Drain actually does help you keep up with the numbers of this deck. The downside though is that she still goes -1 constantly. The only good news is she turns every other card in the deck that cannot go back into the deck and clear the rearguard circle into someone that can. So for example, our Drillings, for example, our Silver Fang Witches, your Sargesses, they all benefit from Din Drain because they allow these cards to coexist in the same ecosystem as Blond Ezel, who desperately needs the front row circles to be empty for his multi-attack. So yes, I'm not a fan of Din Drain, really, but I feel that it is a very critical card in allowing this deck to work. In the future, if Gold Paladin, if Ezel as a deck gets better support to clear the circles, Din Drain is one of the first few cards to leave this deck. Absolutely. And last but not least is a silly tech pick of mine. It's Fionora. You may remember her from my PBD video in set 4, maybe in a later Keter video, but she's back and I'm playing her in Ezel. Why? If there are no other units in the same column as this on both sides of the field, this unit gains 10. So if your opponent has no rearguards at all, and you only have her on the column, she's 18k. which is very helpful because there's a certain someone who has very small hands and very small boards. So you can start very early and very aggressively with Ezel, with Fiona running beside you at an 18k body. If you have an 18k here and a 13k here, that's a lot of numbers threatening a grade 1 enemy Vanguard. And if you persona right, this card will reach 28,000, which is a lot of power to be thrown around on turn 3. So keep that in mind. This is the reason why I play Fiona, but Fiona is very easily countered by popular decks such as the entire Stoic here. Where they just call plant token and they just laugh at you, and this card becomes quite a dud. But in any other scenario that your opponent does not early rush, you can completely turn the tides on them if you manage to open a Fiona. The only downside of Fiona, of course, is that in the later parts of the game, she becomes completely useless. So this is my tech pick. If you are not a fan of it, don't play it. And finally, our grade zeros. Our grade zeros, they play 8 critical triggers. We play 3 draw. We play 1 over trigger. I think this is Velnot. And then we play 4 heals. Yes, because it's very simple. 8 crits because we want to play the game. 4 heals, we want to play the game. We play 3 regular draws though, because we don't want to actually call effect draws. Effect draws are 4,000 attack. This is 5,000 attack. So yeah, that's the only reason why I feel that this is a much better card to play, although you do take a bite in shield, which really sucks, but you want to play aggressively, and that's also why Mr. Velnot is here. Velnot gives you an extra attack, and with your high numbers on your rearguard columns, if you pull this early, you could just slap your opponent out of the tournament, and he's gone. Him or her, you can slap anyone out. And of course, we play Mr. Criff. And that wraps up my Ezel deck profile. I've tested this to no end, mainly because of the insane lack of actual knowledge on this deck. Like, in researching for this deck profile and trying to, find examples and learn from them, not exactly net decking, but just wanting to see what people do, you have very little to go off. There's only a few lists out there of a few people that either to win on locals or post their local results, or don't even win for that matter, or people selling the deck. Like that's the only few references you actually get for building this, and it sucks because this is so fun of a deck. Ezel really is something very new to D series, where it's a superior riding Vanguard early from the right deck. I thought Greedon was kind of funny when they flipped the right deck card, but this guy just straight up jumps at you. But I would say Ezel is again a product of his time. He's very balanced, strange, I know, and he's very fair, but he is pretty worthwhile in terms of building the deck and trying it out. If you're interested in playing Keter, but you want to live life on the edge and not win 100% of the time like Luat, I would actually recommend you to pick up Blond Ezel if you're willing to. But the downside is that Ezel does really need a few generics if you don't want to play the other tech options I recommended in this video, and those will cost you because this is Keter Sanctuary. All hail Luat. Thank you so much for watching. This is my actual last DBT 11 deck profile. I know I said that about Vermilion, but I wanted to surprise you guys with Ezel eventually. I also had the false impression that someone would actually cover this deck, and I was completely wrong. So yeah, I decided it's about time. I think around the posting of this video, it will be before September, if I'm not mistaken. Which basically means we still have one more month to go until, DBT 13. So tell me in the comment section below, did Avantgarde get any good support? Do I have to play the deck again? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.